a man with no friends, it's a thought that can weigh heavily on the heart, stirring feelings of loneliness and emptiness. It's not easy to think about, and it's certainly not easy to experience. In a world that often defines success by your relationships, your social circles, and the validation of those around you, the idea of being a man without friends can feel like a failure. But this is precisely where we must begin our conversation, not with despair, but with understanding. If you find yourself in this position without a single friend to confide in, to lean on, it's easy to feel lost. You might look around and see others surrounded by close companions, sharing their triumphs, celebrating their victories. And in your heart, there's a gnawing question: what went wrong? What happened to you? Why are you alone? These questions can spiral into self-doubt, self-loathing, and bitterness. But there's something you must realize: your story is not over. The absence of friends does not mean you are doomed to a life of isolation. To rebuild, to transform, to become the man you are meant to be, you must first look inward. The absence of friends is not a punishment. It's a challenge. It's a challenge that calls you to face your inner self, to confront the parts of you that you might have neglected, to grow in ways that are difficult but necessary. Friendships are not things that can be manufactured at will. They are not shallow connections based on convenience or need. True friendship, the kind that withstands the tests of time, requires authenticity, vulnerability, and trust. And to build those qualities, you must first cultivate them within yourself. You see, a man with no friends is a man who has been given the opportunity to know himself more deeply than most. When the distractions of the world are removed, when you are left to face yourself and your own thoughts, you begin a journey of personal growth that can lead to tremendous transformation. But this growth doesn't come easily. It requires discipline, it requires honesty, and it requires the willingness to face the uncomfortable truths about who you are. And here's something even more important to understand: friendship is not just about finding people to fill a void in your life. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts others into their life. If you have no friends, it's likely because something within you needs to change. It's not a judgment of your worth, it's an invitation to grow. The kind of friends you want to have, the kind of people you want to surround yourself with, must first exist within you. You cannot expect others to be the kind of friends you desire if you yourself are not yet embodying those same qualities. A friend is someone who listens, who offers empathy, who provides support, and who is loyal through thick and thin. But before you can expect that from others, you must first become that person to yourself. You must develop the inner strength to be your own best friend, to listen to your own thoughts without judgment, to provide your own support, and to offer yourself loyalty even when no one else does. It's also crucial to understand that friendships are not about quantity, but quality. You do not need dozens of friends. What you need is one true friend, someone who genuinely understands you, who you can trust with your deepest fears, your greatest aspirations, and your greatest vulnerabilities. But to attract that kind of person into your life, you must first be someone worthy of that trust. And here's something else that might be difficult to hear, but is essential. Stop blaming others for your lack of friends. It's easy to say that people have failed you, that they are the ones who are distant, cold, or unapproachable. But the truth is, relationships are a two-way street. If you find yourself constantly surrounded by people who do not understand you or who abandon you in times of need, it might be time to ask yourself, what role have I played in this? It's not about blaming yourself, it's about recognizing that you too have a responsibility in your relationships. Friendships require work and they require self-awareness. If you've been hurt by others in the past, if you've been let down by people you trusted, this is an important moment to reflect. Yes, the wounds are real. Yes, the pain of betrayal or neglect is deep, but you must not allow that pain to define you. Do not let the mistakes of others trap you in bitterness and anger. Instead, use those experiences as opportunities to learn, to grow, and to better understand what kind of friendships you want to build moving forward. And here's the truth: true friendship requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to open yourself up to others, to let your guard down, and to show people who you really are, imperfections and all. It's easy to stay isolated, to keep your distance from others for fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood. But in that isolation, you miss out on the very thing that could give your life meaning: connection. A man with no friends might feel like he's missing something. But the reality is he's not missing anything. He's been given the rare opportunity to build himself from the ground up, to be the person he's meant to be, to face the world not with the crutch of external validation, but with the strength of internal resolve. And when he does this, when he builds his character, when he strengthens his mind, heart, and spirit, he will find that the right people naturally begin to enter his life. The journey from loneliness to friendship is not one that can be rushed. It takes time, patience, and most of all, self-awareness. But the first step is recognizing that the absence of friends is not a curse, it's an invitation to become the best version of yourself. A version that will naturally attract the kind of people who will stand by you, support you, and walk with you through the ups and downs of life. You are not defined by your lack of friends. You are defined by your actions, your character, and your willingness to grow. If you take responsibility for your own life, confront your fears, and build the strength within you, you will not only discover the power of true friendship, but also the power of becoming the person who is worthy of it. So start today. Build yourself, and the friends you seek will eventually find their way into your life. Self-reflection and growth are fundamental aspects of the human experience. When a man finds himself without friends, it is often the universe's way of inviting him to look inward, to assess his life, his actions, and the very core of his being. This moment of solitude, though painful and often marked by loneliness, holds within it an immense potential for transformation. It forces a man to confront himself in ways that are not possible when he is distracted by the noise of external relationships or the validation of others. The absence of friends gives a man the space and the time to ask himself the important questions: who am I? What do I want from life? What am I doing wrong? Where do I need to grow? Self-reflection is not always easy. It requires honesty and the ability to look at oneself without the mask of ego or pride. It demands vulnerability and courage because the answers we uncover may not always be comfortable. But it is through this honest self-assessment that a man truly understands where he stands in life and where he needs to go. It's not about finding blame or guilt, but about understanding the patterns of behavior, thought, and action that have led him to his current situation. If he is alone, without friends, there may be behaviors, attitudes, or decisions he has made that have contributed to this outcome. But this should not be seen as a condemnation. Rather, it is an opportunity to recognize the areas in which he needs to evolve. The process of growth comes from identifying these areas of weakness and making the conscious decision to change. When a man takes responsibility for his life, he shifts from being a passive observer of his circumstances to an active participant in his own transformation. This might mean addressing emotional issues, healing from past wounds, or learning to communicate better with others. It might mean challenging the way he views relationships, questioning whether he's been too guarded or too open, too self-centered or too accommodating. It's through this exploration that he can begin to rebuild the foundations of his life, starting with his own identity. Self-reflection also allows a man to reconnect with his values. When surrounded by friends or constantly in social environments, it's easy to lose sight of who you are and what you stand for. Sometimes in the noise of life, it's difficult to hear your own inner voice. But when alone, the silence becomes a space to rediscover what truly matters to you, your passions, your purpose, your principles. A man who knows his values is someone who can confidently navigate the world, make decisions that align with his authentic self, and build relationships that are meaningful and based on shared beliefs. In a way, being without friends can be an opportunity to rediscover the essence of who you are and to ensure that any relationships you form in the future are grounded in mutual respect for each other's core values. This journey of self-reflection and growth is not about changing yourself for the sake of others. It is not about becoming someone you are not just to fit into social circles. Instead, it's about developing into the best version of yourself, someone who attracts people based on who you truly are, not based on the image you project or the approval you seek. As you grow and evolve, you begin to cultivate qualities such as empathy, patience, and emotional intelligence. These are the very qualities that form the foundation of true friendships. And as you learn to give these to yourself first by being patient with yourself, by showing empathy toward your own struggles, by emotionally nurturing your own wounds, you start to naturally radiate these qualities outwardly. This process doesn't happen overnight, and it's not always comfortable, but it is necessary. A man who is willing to reflect, learn, and grow is a man who will ultimately attract meaningful connections into his life. Friends are not found by looking for them. They are attracted through the person you become as you evolve. The more you work on yourself, the more you develop your own strength and self-sufficiency, the more you become the type of person who draws others in. Friendships are not about seeking approval or filling a void. They are about sharing your authentic self with others and finding mutual respect and understanding. Self-reflection and growth are lifelong processes. You will continue to evolve, learn from your mistakes, and gain deeper insights into who you are. And as you continue to grow, you will not only become a better person for yourself, but you will also create space for authentic, lasting relationships to flourish in your life. Being a man with no friends is not a permanent state. It is a phase that, if approached with honesty and determination, can lead to a life rich with meaningful connections, deeper self-awareness, and a stronger sense of purpose. Building inner strength. Building inner strength is one of the most important and transformative processes a person can go through in life. It starts with an understanding that strength isn't simply about physical prowess or outward appearances. It's about the power you cultivate from within, the resilience you develop, and the courage you summon to face life's challenges. True inner strength comes from the ability to withstand adversity, to rise after every fall, and to remain true to yourself even when the world around you is in turmoil. It requires introspection, commitment, and an unwavering belief in your own ability to endure and grow. When a man finds himself without friends or isolated from others, it can feel like a loss, even a tragedy. But this isolation, rather than weakening him, can be the fertile ground for building the inner strength necessary for greater things. In solitude, you are forced to confront your weaknesses and vulnerabilities head-on. There are no distractions, no external influences to divert your attention, and no one to offer you the crutch of temporary comfort. It's just you and your thoughts, and in this space, the opportunity for growth is immense. Building inner strength begins with accepting responsibility for your life. It's a crucial step because without taking ownership of where you are, you cannot move forward. Life does not always treat us fairly, and sometimes we are subjected to circumstances beyond our control. However, how we respond to those circumstances is always within our grasp. The decision to take responsibility for your life despite everything that's happened puts you back in the driver's seat. It acknowledges that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but a person capable of changing your future through deliberate action and mindset shifts. It's about accepting that you are the one who must make the changes that you want to see in your life. Once you've made that internal decision, the next phase is to cultivate discipline. Discipline is a cornerstone of inner strength because it's the ability to consistently take action even when you don't feel like it. It's about creating habits that align with your goals, your values, and the person you want to become. True discipline isn't about punishing yourself or forcing yourself into a rigid routine. It's about creating an environment in which growth can happen naturally. Whether it's waking up early, working toward your goals, or taking care of your physical and mental health, discipline helps you stay on track when motivation wanes and when the challenges seem insurmountable. Building inner strength also requires emotional resilience. Life will inevitably throw obstacles in your path: loss, disappointment, failure, and these experiences can shake your confidence. But emotional resilience means learning how to face those setbacks without allowing them to define you. It means developing the ability to feel and acknowledge pain, but not letting it control your actions or your mindset. It's about bouncing back after setbacks, learning from them, and using them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Emotional resilience is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about processing them in healthy ways, maintaining a balanced perspective, and always striving to move forward. Another essential element in building inner strength is self-compassion. Too often we are our own harshest critics, berating ourselves for every mistake or misstep. This inner self-criticism only weakens us and chips away at our confidence. Building inner strength requires the ability to forgive yourself, to extend the same understanding you would offer a close friend. It means accepting your flaws, learning from them, and moving forward with a sense of grace and understanding. Inner strength is not about being perfect. It's about having the courage to face imperfection and continue moving forward with hope and conviction. At the heart of inner strength is the ability to trust yourself. Trusting yourself means knowing that no matter what happens, you have the capability to handle the challenges life throws your way. It's about developing the conviction that you will always find a way to adapt, grow, and prevail. Trust in your own instincts, trust in your ability to make decisions, and trust that even in the darkest moments, you have the resilience to keep going. It's this self-trust that gives you the courage to step out of your comfort zone, to take risks, and to pursue your dreams to certainties. Building inner strength isn't an overnight transformation, it's a lifelong journey. It's about constantly striving to better yourself, to rise after each fall, and to embrace the challenges life throws your way. It requires you to be honest with yourself, to confront your weaknesses and work to strengthen them, and to remain steadfast in your pursuit of growth. But the rewards are immeasurable. When you develop this inner strength, you begin to understand that you are capable of far more than you ever thought possible. You become more resilient, more adaptable, and more prepared to face whatever challenges come your way. The absence of friends, while painful, can be the perfect backdrop for this kind of growth. In solitude, you have the opportunity to cultivate the inner strength that will not only help you endure, but also empower you to rebuild your life, create meaningful connections, and become the person you are meant to be. It's in facing yourself and developing your own resilience and in taking full responsibility for your life that you can unlock the potential within you, discovering a well of strength that will serve you throughout your journey. Building inner strength is not a destination, it's a process that will continuously shape you into a more powerful and confident version of yourself. And when you stand strong in that power, you'll be prepared to face anything life throws your way. The quality over quantity principle. The principle of quality over quantity is a timeless concept that applies to many aspects of life, and it holds particular relevance when it comes to relationships and friendships. In today's world, we are often told that success is defined by the number of people around us, the size of our social circle, or the number of interactions we have. Social media in particular has amplified this notion, promoting the idea that popularity is synonymous with success. We are encouraged to collect friends, followers, and connections, often at the expense of the depth of these relationships. However, when it comes to meaningful, fulfilling connections, this approach is often misguided. It is not the number of friends you have, but the quality of those relationships that truly defines their value. True, lasting friendships are built on a foundation of trust, respect, and genuine connection. These are the relationships that withstand time and adversity, providing us with emotional support, guidance, and understanding. The number of friends you have in your life doesn't matter if those friendships are shallow or unreciprocated. In fact, many people find themselves surrounded by acquaintances, but still feeling incredibly lonely, because those connections are based on superficial interactions rather than authentic bonds. In contrast, a single true friend who understands you deeply, shares your values, and stands by you through thick and thin can be far more valuable than 100 casual acquaintances. When we focus on the quality of our relationships, we prioritize the emotional and psychological richness that comes with genuine human connection. It's not about seeking validation or simply filling a void with social interactions. It's about finding people who challenge you to grow, who hold you accountable, and who care about your well-being. The depth of these relationships is what allows you to connect on a level that goes beyond the surface. Quality relationships involve meaningful conversations, emotional support during difficult times, and shared experiences that help build a lasting bond. These are the kinds of friendships that have the power to shape you as a person, to push you toward your higher self, and to provide comfort when you need it most. To cultivate such relationships, you must first be willing to invest time and effort into nurturing them. It requires being present, listening actively, and showing empathy toward others. It's about being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be seen even in your most imperfect form. Quality friendships are not transactional. They are rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and love. They are not about what you can gain, but what you can give, offering your support, your time, and your heart. This is why genuine friendships often require patience and effort. Building trust takes time, and deep connections are forged through shared experiences, challenges, and moments of vulnerability. As you invest in these friendships, you begin to reap the rewards of true companionship, which are far more fulfilling than the fleeting satisfaction of a large social network. Furthermore, focusing on quality over quantity allows you to eliminate the distractions that come with maintaining many shallow relationships. It allows you to create the space and energy to nurture the connections that truly matter. When you are constantly spreading yourself thin, trying to please everyone and meet the expectations of a large group, you risk neglecting your most important relationships. By narrowing your focus to a smaller group of people who truly matter to you, you are able to give them the attention and energy they deserve, creating stronger, more meaningful bonds. This doesn't mean that you should completely shut yourself off from others, but rather that you should prioritize the relationships that contribute to your growth, happiness, and well-being. The principle of quality over quantity extends beyond friendships and into all areas of life. It encourages you to focus on what truly matters and to invest your time and energy in things that bring value and meaning to your life. Whether it's your work, your hobbies, or your personal goals, you don't need to be involved in every project or chase after every opportunity. Instead, you should focus on the ones that align with your values, passions, and long-term aspirations. By focusing on quality, you create more space for the things that truly matter and allow yourself to experience life more fully and meaningfully. In relationships, it's important to remember that not everyone will be a close friend, nor do they need to be. The people who are meant to be in your life will come when you focus on cultivating deep connections rather than chasing after numbers. There's no need to compare your social life to others, nor is there a need to feel inadequate if you don't have hundreds of friends. What matters is that the relationships you do have are genuine, fulfilling, and rooted in mutual respect. These are the kinds of relationships that will support you during your darkest moments and celebrate with you during your brightest. Ultimately, the quality over quantity principle teaches us that we must be intentional about who we allow in our lives and how we invest in our relationships. It's not about the number of friends, followers, or acquaintances you accumulate, but the depth of connection you create with the people who truly matter. By prioritizing quality relationships, you open yourself up to a life of deeper connection, greater fulfillment, and more authentic happiness. The people who truly care for you will be there when it matters most. And the impact of these relationships will far outweigh any superficial connections you might have. Accountability in relationships. Accountability in relationships is one of the cornerstones of a healthy and enduring connection. It is the practice of holding oneself and others responsible for their actions, behaviors, and their commitments. And it forms the foundation for trust, respect, and mutual understanding. In any relationship, whether it be a friendship, romantic partnership, or professional connection, accountability means being willing to take ownership of your role in the dynamic, acknowledging your mistakes, and actively working to improve. It involves not only recognizing when you fall short, but also making a conscious effort to be a better partner, friend, or colleague moving forward. Without accountability, relationships can quickly deteriorate into resentment, miscommunication, a lack of trust. It is through accountability that we create the conditions for growth, intimacy, and long-lasting connection. In many ways, accountability is about self-awareness, the ability to reflect on your actions and words and understand how they impact others. It's recognizing that your choices, even the smallest ones, affect the people around you. When you are accountable, you are fully aware of your responsibilities in the relationship and take proactive steps to fulfill them. This means being open to feedback, being humble enough to admit when you've made a mistake, and taking the necessary steps to correct it. It's not about blaming others for the issues that arise, but rather examining your own role and taking ownership of your part in the situation. The ability to be accountable helps you grow as an individual and strengthens the relationship itself because it fosters an environment where both parties can learn, forgive, and evolve together. Accountability is also essential for building trust. Trust is fragile and once broken can take a long time to rebuild. When one person in a relationship fails to take accountability for their actions, it erodes the trust and creates a barrier between the two individuals. For example, when someone avoids responsibility or deflects blame, it leaves the other person feeling unheard, unimportant, and unsupported. On the other hand, when someone is accountable when they acknowledge their mistakes, offer a sincere apology, and make amends, it allows trust to flourish. It communicates that both individuals are willing to work through challenges and take responsibility for creating a harmonious and understanding dynamic. This openness not only strengthens the bond, but also allows both people to feel safe and valued in the relationship. At the same time, accountability is not solely about taking ownership of your mistakes. It's also about being responsible for your commitments, promises, and expectations. In relationships, whether personal or professional, there are certain standards, agreements, and expectations that both individuals agree to uphold. When you commit to something, whether it's a shared goal or a simple promise, you are responsible for following through. Accountability means being dependable and reliable. It means showing up when you say you will, following through on what you promised, and being consistent in your actions. Failing to follow through on commitments can lead to disappointment and frustration, and over time this can cause the relationship to suffer. But when you consistently honor your commitments, you build a strong foundation of trust and respect. The ability to rely on each other, To know that the other person will do what they say is critical in any relationship. Moreover, accountability in relationships involves being open to the feedback of others. It means recognizing that you are not always right and that the perspectives of others are just as valuable as your own. When we receive constructive criticism, it can be difficult to hear, especially if it challenges our perceptions of ourselves. However, accountability means being willing to listen without defensiveness, to consider the other person's point of view, and to use that feedback for personal growth. It's important to understand that accepting responsibility for your actions doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's a sign of strength. It shows that you are mature enough to understand the impact of your behavior and that you care enough about the relationship to improve and become better. Accountability also plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. Disagreements are inevitable in any relationship, but how you handle them can determine whether the relationship grows stronger or falls apart. When a conflict arises, being accountable means approaching the situation with humility and the desire to understand the other person's perspective. It involves acknowledging any part you may have played in the disagreement, taking responsibility for it, and working together to find a resolution. This doesn't mean accepting blame for everything, but rather acknowledging your actions, listening to the other person's feelings, and being willing to make changes for the sake of the relationship. A relationship without accountability becomes one where communication breaks down, misunderstandings fester, and conflicts remain unresolved. In relationships, it's essential to also hold each other accountable. Accountability is a two-way street. It's not just about one person taking responsibility for their actions. Both individuals must be committed to holding each other to high standards. This doesn't mean pointing fingers or accusing the other person of wrongdoing, but it means supporting one another in living up to the values and expectations that both of you have agreed upon. It involves providing gentle reminders when necessary, offering constructive criticism when appropriate, and encouraging growth and positive change. The goal is not to control or manipulate the other person, but to build a partnership based on mutual respect and shared responsibility. Ultimately, accountability is about creating a relationship where both people feel safe, respected, and valued. It's about fostering an environment where both individuals can grow, learn, and thrive together. When accountability is present, relationships become deeper, more meaningful, and more resilient. They are built on trust, mutual respect, and the understanding that both people are committed to supporting one another, not only in the good times, but also during the challenges. In a world where it can be easy to point fingers and avoid responsibility, choosing to embrace accountability in relationships is a powerful act of love, growth, and commitment to the well-being of both individuals. Embrace vulnerability and authenticity. Embracing vulnerability and authenticity is one of the most powerful ways to create deep, meaningful connections with others and to foster true personal growth. It involves being open, honest, and transparent about who you are without hiding behind facades or pretending to be someone you are not. Vulnerability, often seen as a weakness in today's world, is actually one of the greatest strengths we can possess. It allows us to let go of the fear of judgment and rejection and opens the door to authentic relationships and personal fulfillment. By embracing vulnerability, we allow ourselves to be seen in our truest form, unpolished and raw, which creates the potential for deep emotional connection and understanding. It's about stepping into the unknown, letting go of control, and giving ourselves the space to feel, express, and connect with others without fear of being judged or misunderstood. When we embrace vulnerability, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect. So often we hide our struggles, our flaws, and our insecurities because we are afraid of what others will think. We fear that if people see our weaknesses or our uncertainties, they will not accept us, or worse, they will reject us. But the reality is that it is through our vulnerabilities that we form the most meaningful connections. When we open up about our fears, our doubts, and our imperfections, we invite others to do the same. This mutual exchange creates an atmosphere of trust and empathy where both parties feel safe to express themselves without the burden of pretending to be something they are not. In relationships, whether they be with friends, family, or romantic partners, vulnerability creates a bond that goes beyond superficial interactions. It allows us to be seen and accepted for who we truly are, flaws and all. Authenticity, too, is an essential component of embracing vulnerability. It is the ability to be true to ourselves, to honor our values, beliefs, and feelings without succumbing to societal pressures or the expectations of others. Authenticity means showing up in the world exactly as we are without the need to wear a mask or pretend to fit into a mold. It's about being real with ourselves and with others and not molding ourselves to fit the image of what we think people want us to be. The power of authenticity lies in its ability to create trust and genuine connection. When you are authentic, you attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for the image you project or the role you play. Authenticity fosters a sense of belonging and acceptance because it allows people to see and relate to the real you, not a carefully curated version of yourself. However, embracing vulnerability and authenticity is not always easy. In a world that often rewards perfection and encourages comparison, being vulnerable and authentic can feel risky. We are taught from a young age to put on a brave face, to hide our weaknesses, and to present an idealized version of ourselves to the world. Social media, in particular, exacerbates this tendency, showing us the carefully crafted, polished lives of others and making us feel as though we are falling short. The pressure to conform to these idealized images can make us doubt our own worth and convince us that we must hide our vulnerabilities to be accepted or successful. But this pursuit of perfection is ultimately self-defeating. It prevents us from experiencing true joy and fulfillment because it keeps us trapped in a cycle of pretending and people-pleasing rather than living in alignment with our true selves. Embracing vulnerability and authenticity requires courage. It means being willing to face discomfort, uncertainty, and the fear of rejection. It means speaking your truth, even when it feels hard, and being willing to show up as your most honest self, even when the world around you may not always understand or accept you. This courage is not about being fearless, but about being willing to be open despite fear. It's about letting go of the need for control and allowing yourself to experience life as it is without trying to hide from the difficult emotions or experiences that come with it. When you embrace vulnerability, you stop hiding from your feelings and you stop hiding from the world. You allow yourself to feel everything: joy, sadness, fear, love without judgment or suppression. In doing so, you also allow space for growth and transformation. Vulnerability opens the door to self-awareness because it forces us to confront the parts of ourselves that we may have ignored or rejected. It invites us to examine our emotions, our beliefs, and our behaviors, and to reflect on how they shape our lives and relationships. This introspection is essential for personal development, as it allows us to make conscious choices about how we want to show up in the world and who we want to become. Authenticity, in turn, allows us to express our truest selves without apology, and in doing so, we attract opportunities and relationships that align with our deepest values and desires. When we embrace vulnerability and authenticity, we also model this behavior for others. By being open about our struggles, sharing our stories, and accepting ourselves as we are, we encourage others to do the same. This creates a ripple effect where more and more people feel empowered to embrace their own vulnerability and authenticity. In this way, vulnerability becomes not only an individual practice, but a collective one. It strengthens communities, fosters deeper connections, and creates a culture of acceptance and empathy. Moreover, vulnerability and authenticity contribute to our mental and emotional well-being. Holding everything inside, bottling up our emotions, pretending to be someone we are not, or trying to live up to impossible standards can lead to stress, anxiety, and burnout. But when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic, we free ourselves from this emotional burden. We give ourselves permission to rest in the knowledge that we don't have to be perfect, that we don't have to have all the answers, and that it's okay to ask for help or seek support when we need it. In doing so, we create a sense of inner peace and emotional balance because we are no longer fighting against ourselves or the world.